So I'm a senior vice president, senior relationship manager. I've been in this group now almost a year. It's healthcare education, not for profit. But I've worked for Bank of America about 13 years now, since graduating BU. On a day-to-day, my job really is to be customer service for my clients. Anything that they need from a banking perspective, they come through me. So investment banking, debt products, credit products, anything like that, treasury needs, credit cards, bank accounts, anything from a banking perspective, they would come through me as a commercial banker. Bank of America had come on campus to do interviews, and they were hiring for a credit analyst position, and it was a 12-month training program in commercial real estate banking. And then you chose basically what group you would be a part of. So I chose community development lending. I started in Boston, and then I had the opportunity to move to New York, LA, and DC, and now I'm back in Boston, but all with Bank of America. That starting salary range for me back in 2006 was $55,000. That's where they were starting folks, depending on where you were geographically. Because they had folks from San Francisco to New York. There was 20 of us. And we all came together once a month for 12 months to train. I'm very practical, but I don't think everybody who went into banking had a finance major. So, you know, when I had interned while I was at BU, I was interning at Deloitte & Touche in accounting, and I hated it. Not that Deloitte & Touche is an awesome company, because it is. It's just I didn't like audit. So when I went to Bank of America, I met folks from all different kinds of majors. So English major, you don't think of them in banking or finance. But there's a diversity in skill set that comes from studying something else besides finance, because again, I was going into a training program. It wasn't just hit the ground running, They didn't assume that BU had taught me most of the things related to credit, specifically real estate either, My background was finance and accounting with a concentration. It wasn't even a major. My major was business administration. So I think a lot of times when students struggle with the transferability of their major, they should really think about, what am I going to learn and what do I get out of the company, because you're learning on the job. Everything from school is your base, and then everything above that is what you build on. Networking and interning. I think the biggest thing for me, at least, is that you don't know what you don't know, until you do it. So learning that I was not going to do the accounting route was a big deal for me, because I had already learned that to get your CPA, you had 150 credits requirement. And that initial internship in my junior year, I was like, I'm not doing this. And then I stopped taking all the extra credits and didn't need it, because I did not like that field. And then as far as getting your initial role, you really do have to network. You really do have to be approachable, and be out there, Be outgoing enough to say, hey, I'm really interested in your company. It doesn't have to be Bank of America, and any company that you go to, because what they want to know is why you're a good fit. Why does it make sense for you to be here? And then what you want to ask of the company is, what's the culture like? Why do I feel like this is where I'm going to be welcomed and feel like this is a great place for me to begin my career? I mean, I think the biggest thing is really your ability to just learn quickly, Because in anything new that you're beginning at, you don't feel like you know everything. It's impossible. It's new. So really, it's a matter of you ask questions, you admit to what you don't know, and people will take you under their wing. And if you're open and a team player, they're going to say, if we win, we all win. So as someone who had started and stayed with the same company the entire time, I felt like mentors was a big deal, So I definitely attached myself to certain people where I felt like it was very open for learning, asking really a lot of questions that maybe felt dumb because you were new. But that's the way you learn. So it was important from that perspective. Bank of America is a very large company. I believe we're at 205,000, around there. Its biggest, when I joined in 2006, right before the bubble, was like 325,000 employees. So it's very corporate. I've worked in all corporate offices where, New York's a little fancier than most, but that feel is very important. So you do have to make sure that you're okay with that culture, because it's not going to be the startup with your puppy on day one. It is definitely going to be at your desk, at your cube, like a Deloitte & Touche or one of those big companies. So it's important to know that you align with that when you're picking your first job. A day, I would say, is definitely mostly training, learning, and then they would give you real work. So you would work on, like, for example, as an analyst, you'd work on like a scorecard that basically tells you what a company is rated. So for example, Boston University is my client. So if I'm looking to lend to Boston University because you want a brand new building on campus, I have to look at what your score is, meaning what is your credit rating? How strong are you as an institution? So you learn that as an analyst, how to analyze Boston University's financial statements. I think the thing that I like the most is the flexibility that I've had throughout my career. I've moved all over and still had that very fresh feeling, even though I've been with the company for 13 years. That's very rare, especially for my age group. I think out of the starting class of 20, there's only 2 of us left. So, when you think about it from that perspective, a lot of folks have moved on to different things. They leveraged what they learned and basically, moved up and on, which is great. So that's my favorite thing. My least favorite thing is probably anything having to do with administrative tasks. With a large company, they have to track you somehow. So you're constantly putting in timesheets and, your expense report and save your receipts. Those little things, I'm like, if only I could have an admin to do this kind of stuff. But there's too many employees for that.